Welcome to the Didi and Lital Show. Advice, thoughts, and stories from a married couple on cybersecurity, technology, and life in general. Now here are your hosts, Didi and Lital.
Hello, and welcome to the Didi and Lital Show. It's another week.
It's another week. Summer is here. Baseball is boring as shit.
That's always the case. It's a boring game.
Look, there's been some really nice things that happened, like the Cavs choking away. I think they were up like 20 points and then choked away.
In the fourth quarter.
And choked that away.
Started watching baseball since when?
No, Cavs.
Basketball.
That's basketball. That's
sorry.
Cavs,
Okay.
Cavs versus
Cavaliers.
Knicks.
Okay.
Even Brian was not. All of us were standing there in the hotel lobby and talking, and I was saying, "Oh, the Cavs are up so much," and no, they're not.
Yeah. A minute later, they were blowing it, and then, man, did they blow it.
Yes, and both teams that came in very, very hot into the Stanley Cup conference finals, both the Avs and the Canes both lost in a very meh fashion, like very, very wet farty fashion.
Yeah, and now we're forced with the specter of possibly a Stanley Cup returning to St. Catherine Street in Montreal.
No, it will not.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think so. I think the Canes by the end of the game showed that. Remember when we swept the Phillies, and then then Tampa beat us in the first game. It looked like we were not ready.
Right.
And also that stupid warm-up skirmish thing that cost us the season against the Blues. It's the same thing. If you sweep,
But you got to set the tone, Didi.
you have to set the tone. If you get swept, if you sweep somebody, it's sometimes not that good. And but so far, every team that has swept twice in the first two rounds has won the cup. There's no case that. But the Canes can choke. Also, I do have to poke at my Leaf friends. That Mitch Marner breakaway between the legs goal. I think he's the goal leader for the cup.
Is that right?
Yeah. Okay. For everybody in Leafs Nation that said Marner is not going to get anything, I see him. I think Knights versus Canes is probably going to be the round.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so. All right. Maybe Torts will win another cup. Did Torts win a cup?
I don't know. I can look that up.
Because that guy's a douche. That guy's a douche. Anyways.
Are you all excited that World Cup is coming to town?
What sport is that?
Yeah.
I live in Foxborough. I'm petrified of the traffic.
You can hear the game. Maybe. You open your windows.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Why would somebody kick a ball with their leg? Yeah, exactly, like the rest of the world.
That's the way it's called.
No sticks.
Yeah,
no sticks. Okay. We left a cliffhanger in the last episode.
Yes, we did.
Sorry, Lital. Sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Tortorella won the Stanley Cup with Tampa Bay in 2004.
Really?
Yep.
That was 20 years ago. 20-something. A long time ago.
He's won the Coach of the Year twice.
Coach of the Year, he's definitely red-assed coach that yells at his guys. Every time he comes to a new team, they kind of win for a little while and then stop. Mm-hmm. But he and Bruce kind of wear out the welcome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
We left a cliffhanger about pricing.
Yeah. Well, everybody that has played a little bit with Token World is now petrified by the cost. Marc Benioff, CEO of Salesforce, was on the All In podcast last week, and he said, well, we're going to pay Anthropic this year $300 million in tokens just for our coders to code. Mm-hmm. $300 million.
Yep.
That's Salesforce.
Yep.
And then yesterday, Microsoft announced that they're putting a hold on using Anthropic because in 4 months, they already have exhausted the AI budget for the year. Mm-hmm. And it's Microsoft, the one that is producing, Azure and have the OpenAI agreement.
Yep.
So first, what's going on? And then I think I want to talk about Marc Benioff also talked about potential solution, which I really want us to discuss. But do you feel the same being in Cisco? Is that something people are talking about? Like a few months ago, there was this trend of organization tracking that people are using tokens and doing competition of who is spending the most, who is using AI the most. Are we still there? Like, what's going on? What are you seeing? Because you're in one of the biggest corporate America, and probably your usage of tokens is crazy.
Through the roof.
So how is that going? How people are thinking about this in your place?
Let's start with the fact that there's this Didi guy. And a while back, I think about even when 5.2, 5.3 came out, I said that even how amazing the new models are and how they're generating code, it's still a lot cheaper to build stuff with carbon than with silicon.
Yeah, we even mentioned it before.
Because right now there's the physics of the energy cost. So right now what people are seeing is the physics of the energy cost coming back to reality. There's like this really cool sci-fi series that I'm reading. It's called The Captives War. And one of the elements there is somebody's explaining that the carbon units are really, really good at taking food and making it into compute power. And this is still, that physics has not changed. So no matter how we'll think about things, the efficiency of the carbon for at least the foreseeable future is still better. And because of that, eventually these things, like when you talk about really highly efficient developer units, they're getting to the cost where, yes, some of those very smart developers are literally using multiple agents multiple times at the same time. And then you get to those insane costs, because now somebody that is a very good developer, like some of the members of my team, they have 15 agents, 20 agents running instead of them.
As if they had duplicated themselves to a team of 15, 20 people running 24/7.
Exactly. And that drives up the costs significantly. On the other hand, most of them are very, very efficient. So the number of PRs, the number of valuable PRs, this is an important thing. The number of valuable PRs that are coming out of very efficient teams, I don't mind that cost, and I will argue with anybody that will try to cut that cost, because that I've built a mechanism that I know, are we spending the money in the right place towards the right direction? But most places don't put that thing in place. And I think I mentioned this, that I saw that my most inefficient team and my most efficient team spent almost the same amount of money. One was doing this to show that they're using AI, while the other was using AI efficiently. And I think the first step that needs to happen, even before we start talking about optimization of token use and things like that, which needs to happen, has to happen.
Yeah.
Even before we talk about that part, we need to talk about the ability to measure effectively outcomes of knowledge workers. So this has always been the problem. If you don't know how to measure effectively the outcome of a knowledge worker, developers, marketeers, lawyers, all these things, if you don't know how to measure effectively the outcome, then you create a lot of noise. So if you incentivize people to use tokens, they will use tokens, and they will use a lot of tokens. I'm not completely there yet, because I'm still having a whole bunch of Luddites. Do you know what Luddites are?
What are Luddites?
Luddites were the people that resisted technology. I think these are the people that, when the cotton gin came along, they said, let's break the cotton gin, because we won't rather.
My grandpa.
Your grandpa and
My grandpa.
Hamechashef.
Yeah.
Exactly. People that hate technology and resist technology, versus my dad, that if a new technology came along, he bought it.
Yeah.
Even he had a VHS and a beta, because he didn't know which one is going to win, so he bought both. When cars first had GPS, he had like the first GPS navigator. When things my dad loved technology. There are people that as soon as they see a technology, they say, we have to try that. Could be completely useless, but we have to be on the bandwagon. And you have the Luddites that resist this. There's people right now that have various excuses why not to use this. And when you have a big organization that's international and multinational, first you have the Euro weenies. The Euro weenies, a third of them will explain to you that you can't use AI because it ruins the environment. That continent is sinking faster than anything else. I cannot explain how fast that continent is going to sink until the Euro weenies will stop being Euro weenies. Now, the next group is the people that they really want to use AI, but you will see what I love to call the one-liner people. The one-liner people. I think if we need to do a measurement of who to fire next, that's the one-liner people.
What is one-liner people?
So when I ask AI to do something, I will explain a detail as if I'm explaining to one of our idiot offsprings exactly what needs to happen.
So they don't understand that you need to prompt, talk, tell details, refine what you're talking. Okay, but that's... Maybe it's not on them. They just don't know how to use AI.
It's not how to use AI.
Which is so easy.
It's not
describe.
I've seen very tight relationship, at least on development side, with poor coding because they can't. I had some very fun conversations as my visit in Ann Arbor on the real need to bring back core computer science, because the core of computer science says, I take a really big problem, I break it down into much smaller problems. Each unit of work is an analytical gate
to the next one.
That solves a problem.
Part of the bigger puzzle.
And if you can't explain the problem that you're trying to solve in a very coherent way, then you get the one-liners. And those one-liners...
I think you have a son that goes to comp engineering school in a few weeks.
Yes.
And he described everything in life in like less than a sentence. We need to train him to be able to do...
No, but he's good at breaking down... But he's very good at breaking down problems.
I'm just thinking the way, like, that's a small anecdote now of like how he described himself to a potential roommate. He just posted looking for a chill roommate on a Discord. Somebody replied, I'm chill. And he decided, okay, they're roommates. I'm like, Ron, so you find a roommate. What's his major? Don't know. Where does he live? Don't know. Who is he? Like,
what's his last name?
Don't know. So you picked a random one because you and him said, and you're the most unchill person on planet Earth. Like, it's oxymoron saying Ron and chill. Like, what are you talking about? You're going to have a kid that vapes in the room. Like, you're not chill. You don't want a chill roommate. So I was like...
Well, in fairness, he didn't say he was chill. He said he was looking for a chill roommate. Right?
I don't know what he said.
He thinks that
he's chill.
He thinks that he's chill.
He thinks he takes... So he's not self-aware that he is not chill, especially when he needs to study for finals. Like, he's the most non-chill. He's the most stressed person on earth. What are you talking about?
He's the most stressed person on earth, period. So let me describe how it looks like when the Datan clan family goes on vacation. Ron, if he could, would go to sleep in the airport the night before to make sure that
he packs like 6 days in advance. Then comes Didi, the extremely stressed person.
I'm not stressed.
And there is me that will pack 2 minutes before we go, throw a few things, and always late. If it's about me, I'll make myself into the gate like the
Lital and Dennis.
I like
Lital and Dennis, if they could, and they view this, if the door of the plane doesn't hit them in the ass when right before the takeoff, they feel like they wasted time in the airport.
I had a friend like that. His thing was never stop moving. I'm going to move. I'm going to
exactly.
move through, and by the time I get to the gate, I'm going to be able to walk right onto the plane. He
that's
claimed to
my
have
thing.
never missed a flight, but
I do the same, and I even get coffee on the way through movement. Like you can order the Starbucks, and it, by the time you pass security, you pick it up, blah, 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 walk. It's a full system. If you fly a lot, you know how to handle it. I did the crazy thing with a train to New York last week. Like I had a meeting that ended in New York City at 3:40, and I had a train at 4, and it was 12 blocks away. And I kind of like ran with my stuff and got into the train
You made
station.
it?
And
Wow.
of course.
She's here now.
I did. I made it. At the same time, it's a train. If I miss it, I'll take the next one. Like, that there is a saying, you missed the train, but it's not the end of the world missing the train. But I didn't. But going back, I do want to talk about, so Marc Benioff said that, yes, Salesforce can afford this, but he sees this as a big driver for a new category of companies that will come and help with optimizing the token use and being something in between the user and the agents, and do all those kind of things. One thing is definitely we're going to have hardware that will have the ability to run local models on-prem on your machine and not just, throwing everything. So there is a place for that. And that's going to be services that you're going to have, and there's going to be the edge and all those kind of things. I think this is coming in. That will be an interesting world of locally run capabilities. I think there's going to be all kinds of services and maybe large companies will even build their own kind of data centers back again, because it will be more cost effective for them. So that's one thing that will come for sure. A second thing, on the software side, there's going to be some sort of brokers that will decide where to send for which agent, for which model. Maybe you don't even need to run a model. Maybe there are some low-level activities that you don't need. There are all kinds of efficiency games. And for different users and different type of agents, there is a lot of place for innovation, for companies to come in, for startups to kind of be a layer in between. I can tell you, us in Intezer, the company I'm working at, we are building that as the layer to enable agents using Claude Code or Codex or whatever for security SOC people. The idea is if you will connect your Anthropic directly to the sources of alerts in your SOC, it will be extremely inefficient. Like every time doing an API call to on any alert to your CrowdStrike and your Splunk and your network, your VPN, checking your identity state, it's not efficient. So again, you need another layer that is a source of truth. We talked about it for Airbnb being the one to keep the inventory. We are doing it for basically alert triage and investigation. We're doing a very efficient layer of triage investigation, reducing the alerts to only 2% that needs to really have human being intervene, interact, respond to. Then comes personal agents that are basically extension of the human being that help them do the additional forensic analysis, additional stuff, connecting them to IT workflows and whatever. So that's if companies, and let me say something about security. Let's not forget, security is always a cost center, right?
Yeah.
We don't produce. We're not the core of the business. We are an enabler for the business. We have to be efficient.
Yep.
It doesn't make sense for security to be expensive, be inefficient. We have to give the best outcome for the tokens that are used. An organization could be running experiment for where they run innovation that shouldn't be in security, unless security is your business.
Well,
That's
you
what
do
you're
need
doing.
mythos.
For sure, to run. But even that, you need to think how you do it
So this
effectively.
is a conversation that I had with my team, because right now when you look at Opus and you look at Mythos and you look at some of
So
those things,
use them, on your like on your build. That's for sure. Spend the tokens to
Just
check
wait.
that what you're making money of is secure.
wait for,
100%.
so wait for a sec on this
Okay.
one.
Yeah, go
so
ahead.
The question right now when Opus is being built, you remember when I was having my back problems, I put it into GPT 5.5, I put the MRI scans and I put a whole bunch of stuff like that, and I got back a response that created a 3D image of how the back thing and where the pressure is. Right now, GPT 5.5 knows what doctors know. They know what nurses know. They know what lawyers know. They know, but is it more efficient to put stuff for development through a model that thinks like it strives to be a general purpose intelligence that knows everything, or should I put it more towards a profession, that this model is a coder, this model is a SOC analyst?
For sure. Purpose built.
So this is a conversation that I had with the team, and I'm not sure I agree.
Okay.
And I'll explain why. What did I go to school to learn?
Epidemiology.
I was a doctor.
Right.
And unfortunately, to get food in my house, you need to argue like a lawyer, because my mom makes us all argue. That's why I'm argumentative. For those that have
So
not
you're
met me,
saying that successful AI has those cross-disciplinary thinking capabilities?
that's a question that I was challenging some very smart people on my team that are on
That's
the
a very
more
interesting-
high end of the AI development, because Glenn was talking about the fact that a purpose-built model will probably be more efficient. One of the things I was asking him is it true? Is it possible that the more educated the model is, the more creative it will be? Because one of the most creative people I know in my UI venture, Nico, he plays music, he creates art, and that enables him to be a very efficient thinker.
Yeah, that's true. I think it depends, to be honest, of what's the purpose of the agent. If the agent is repetitive and you are looking for just human efficiencies to drive on it, probably enough to be, and maybe that's exactly the play. You can say, okay, here it's a repetitive problem of, taking blood pressure and fever from, basic repetitive, no innovation, no need for anything. Yeah, purpose built, just vertical, basic model, maybe even run on-prem, no much of is enough. Versus, I agree that there was I read yesterday that there is previously unsolved math problem that AI just solved, right?
Yeah.
One of like those big known, how is it called? The Fermat, something like that. So basically AI is going to come in with human ingenuity kind of capabilities, and we'll look at stuff and solve it. There was also, I heard about, there is the equivalent of chess, that is Chinese game.
Go.
And AI went and played the game in a completely innovative way that nobody would ever do. And people were looking and they were like, what is it doing? And then it solved one kind of, he played it and he solved a configuration that was never solved before. So again, we have our own limitations also, like with our way of thinking, with our biases as human being, and actually having the machine go and do stuff. It's amazing, complementary. But if we're looking about efficiencies and effectiveness, I think both exist. There is probably a world that you need those big AGI capabilities. I don't even know if I think the AGI thing is a little bit like it's words that and strings that is doing. It doesn't have right now smell and some other senses.
I'll tell you something.
That's fine. So I do think you need general models for innovation, but you need very specific cheap models for get shit done.
Maybe the model needs to be able to implement other models. I'll tell you where
Sure.
I see sometimes the complications and the costs. And if you're not paying attention, it costs you a lot of money. So when we were doing our taxes, I'll pick not something that will get me in trouble with the IP in the company. When I was doing our taxes, I asked Gemini to look at all the expenses in our inbox for the Cloverdale location. Finished this like that.
Yep.
Read through all the emails, built a table. When I asked it to take the table and put it in Google Sheets, it was a disaster. It spent like 40 minutes to try to build a Google Sheet.
Yeah, that's a Google problem. They need to fix it. Happened to me also.
I did something else. Then I said, I stopped at the somewhere in the middle. I said, can you give me a CSV? I got the CSV, pasted it in the Sheets, and then used the Sheets agent, and it became very efficient.
It's a bug. They need to fix it.
But it happens a lot. So and you'll see people when they interact with some of these things, like if the security company, I'll give you an example. If let's say a security company decides that they don't want you to interact with Outlook, but they do allow you to interact with the Outlook with the browser extension of Chrome.
So you need to open it. It will scrape.
What everybody will do, it will take everybody 3 seconds to decide, hey, can you, I now open Outlook and open Word and open all these things.
And I use the Chrome extension.
And they use the Chrome extension, and it costs people, the companies, an arm and a leg. These are the things that when you need to think of how to build a more efficient policy around how to enforce agent security, because this is just a workaround. Remember Sharon was here when he was talking about you can't have more than 3 HIPAA lines. So what the agent does is read 3 lines, read 3 lines, read 3 lines, read 3 lines, and builds on the side.
Going back to the way our carbon brain, evolved, I think it's a little bit the way to go. We talked in the past here about Kahneman and his theory of like thinking fast, slow. Us having 2 modes of thinking. There is the automated stuff that we don't spend a minute thinking of. It's basically, it comes intuitively. The way we recognize people, the way we recognize risk. If something is a snake or it's nothing in the forest. All those kind of things, that's the equivalent of like low automated models that should cost as little tokens as possible versus complex thinking that the brain consumes tons of glucose and takes a lot of learning and stuff. And that's basically the higher model. So it's already there. You're picking up which models you want to do, or like it recommends, or it's something. I think, of course, the companies want you to spend as much as possible, so they will not build these efficiencies. There is a lot of innovation to come here. It's a very interesting place.
I think the companies will, because what they will do is build skills and sub-units and sub-components to basically say, the first time I did this in a very inefficient way, but now I will run an analysis on this. It's very much like AWS built the cost optimizer. They saw that when it's actually better for them to optimize the cost instead of you spending so much, burning through your credits and then stopping spending for the entire Because if
year.
you'll spend more than a fixed amount with AWS, what you'll do is you'll
switch to somebody
you'll
cheaper.
You'll switch to Entra. You'll consider going on-prem. You'll consider doing other things. I think what these vendors will do, because of the cutthroat competition between OpenAI and Claude, and probably with Google, what will happen is the company that is able to create this in an efficient way will make more money. It's also a response time. The more complicated the way you solve the problem, the longer it takes. Right now, agent response time is becoming, the metrics that are coming into the industry is how fast did I get an answer for this? How much did I pay to get this answer? And how much, and how many times did I need to explain something to get this task done? The more efficient these things will be, the more likely you're going to focus on that vendor. And also, there will be a business right now for things sitting between agents and data to deal with, one, my policy example that I gave.
Policy is important, efficiency is efficacy, things that prompt engineering potentially.
Yes, basically reinterpreting intent.
Yep.
And my ability to reinterpret intent
so
to break it down.
Those are interesting layers that, startups are coming up with.
Yep, exactly. And the other thing this is another prompt that we need to talk about, kind of a cliffhanger for next episodes, is there was a company that was 5 months old and was sold for 50 million, 5 people.
Which one? There were a bunch of those.
It was called Genie Security. That was called...
it was sold to Sierra, I think.
Exactly. I think this is going to be an interesting space of these companies and the same as the company that was sold to Wix. There was another company that was sold.
Yeah, Solopreneur.
There's going to be another wave of, can I raise 3-4 million, sell for 50 in 5 months, and do 10 of those?
Yeah, it's definitely happening right now.
Exactly.
Yeah. Excellent. Cool. Hope people learned a little bit. And
yes.
If you are companies in this kind of area, we'll be happy to hear about your thoughts about it.
Yeah.
Let's finish for today. The Didi and Lital show is a weekly podcast. Please rate and review us and share with friends. Yeah, we are married. For all that I know. We will be here next week. Please give us 5 stars. Do us a favor. See you next week.
See you next week.